Memphis man, 35 years old, pleads guilty to child trafficking in St. Louis at River City Casino in South St. Louis County. Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And we are now in the month of August. It's August the 2nd here in St. Louis. And it is a beautiful day today on a Sunday fun day. Hopefully you folks went to church, did the things that you needed to do, and loving the Lord and moving on and progressing in a positive, righteous, and God positive or God conscious way. But for my listeners, I got an unfortunate story. I did not realize that how much, as a result of the e-files with the federal government, how much human trafficking and child trafficking has been going on for years. And whether it's at a high level like the e-files or on a low street level, we have to take care of our kids. There is a lot of chaos and disruption, as I always say, and there are a lot of demonic forces out here. And there are always people willing to take advantage of the less fortunate or the uneducated or the ill-informed. And this is unfortunately a case such as that took place here in St. Louis, Missouri, with a man from Memphis and a young lady from St. Louis. So let's get into this case. It's unfortunate, and for my listeners, viewer discretion is advised. Mac Mitchell, 35 years old, of Memphis, Tennessee, and Angel Henderson, 23 years old. Let's look at those ages, 35 and 23. Angel Henderson is from Florissant, Missouri. They both were charged with second-degree sex trafficking of a child under 18 after a 16-year-old girl was sex trafficked at River City Casino in South St. Louis County. Mac Mitchell admitted on the eve of his trial to sending an Uber to pick up the teen from Epworth Children's Home and then selling her for, you know what, at the casino. And driving around in St. Louis, I've seen this Epworth Children's Home. I don't know exactly where it's at, but yeah, so evidently this was a foster kid who was staying at this home, and the lawsuit is coming. It's all kind of chaos and disruption in the story. So how did it unfold? But thankfully from God and from the employees at River City Casino, they bore witness to something that was not right with what was going on with this young girl or young lady. How did this case unfold? Well, court documents describe the 16-year-old victim as having been harbored, transported, and previously recruited to participate in sex performances with various Johns at River City Casino in St. Louis County. Court documents allege that Mac Mitchell messaged an accomplice saying, "I got one," before going to pick up the girl from Epworth Children's Home. So this guy, 35 years old, according to this document and according to this story, it's not like he picked her up. Maybe he met her on the street. I'm sure the kids can leave the home to a certain degree. But this guy allegedly was actually picking this young girl up at the home, at the children's home. How crazy is that? Court documents allege, the casino's own staff caught the crime. A frontline employee noticed something was wrong and reported it to security and the police. Thank God. I always tell you, keep your head on a swivel and utilize the 5 senses that God has given you. The minute that you walk out of the door of your house, there's all kinds of disruptive things that are taking place. And luckily, the awareness that this employee had of keeping that person's head on a swivel and paying attention and utilizing their 5 senses, got this young girl away from these heinous 2 people. So both of them were charged. Remember, this is Mac Mitchell and Angel Henderson. Both were charged by the St. Louis County Prosecuting Attorney's Office with their bond set at $300,000 cash only. And I tell you, you get caught up in the legal system, the way you know how serious your case is, even before talking to your lawyer, what you're charged with, but more importantly, what is your bond? And so a 300,000 cash, first of all, a $300,000 bond is high anyway. And if you had to have 10% of that, that's 30,000. But 300,000 cash only, that means you have to have 300,000 in cash. That also means that the state and St. Louis County prosecutors, they want to nab and get these people convicted. Angel Henderson was taken into custody at the St. Louis County Jail, while Mac Mitchell was not immediately in custody at that time. The case was eventually taken over by federal prosecutors. U.S. Attorney Thomas Albus said the government initially had planned to try the case without the victim testifying. That's always an issue when you're dealing with underage kids, whether it's a murder case or any kind of crime. You don't want to put a young child on the witness stand or have them go through these hardcore interviewing processes. So he was trying to do it without the victim testifying, relying instead on digital evidence. Remember, we live in a digital world. There is a digital footprint for everything you do. This is almost a cashless society. And also there is surveillance everywhere, not only on our streets and in our cities, but definitely in casinos where thousands and thousands and millions of dollars are being transferred, or there's a commodification of transfer of funds every few seconds. You're talking about millions of dollars in one casino each and every day. There is going to be surveillance cameras on the parking lot, a mile away as you're driving to the casino, and definitely inside the casino. So they were relying, so the U.S. Attorney Albus was relying on digital evidence, since the core dispute was whether Mac Mitchell knew she was a minor. What was the aftermath? U.S. Attorney Thomas Albus noted the victim, who had been in foster care, likely lacked people looking out for her. That is obvious. So she's in foster care. I don't know what her family dynamics were, but probably her family has failed her. Remember, you don't get to ask God what family you're going to be born into. I always say, love is an action and a verb. Just because somebody tells you that, they better show it. And if they don't show it, they don't love you. And sometimes we can get born into these families that are totally dysfunctional and unfortunate. And one has to navigate and figure out a way to get away from them. So just because somebody's your mom, dad, brother, sister, uncle, if they don't show you that love as an action, as a verb, or as an action and a verb, then it means nothing. So her family probably failed her. The system failed her. Epworth's children's home failed her. And of course, these sycophants are the serpents that went after this girl, Mac Mitchell, and this 23-year-old Angel Henderson. They need to be thrown in the jail and under the jail. And Angel Henderson at 23, she probably doesn't even know her head from her butt. So, but when you make adult decisions, there are adult consequences that come with it. And ignorance is not a plea at the mercy of the court. So a civil attorney, here the lawsuit, Grant Boyd, is now suing Epworth Children's Home on the victim's behalf, alleging the home knew for months before February that she was being abused and trafficked, and they failed to act and do anything about it, or even let the authorities, the police, know what was going on. River City Casino, the parent company, Penn Entertainment, said it takes human trafficking seriously, and that front of the house staff they paid attention. They undergone dedicated training to recognize the warning signs, and that training paid off in this particular instance with this 16-year-old innocent girl who was being trafficked by these two heinous adults. And luckily, that situation ended, and now it's in the hands of the court system. Of course, she is going to have PTSD. I'm sure I talk about untreated mental illness all the time. This is a 16-year-old girl just beginning her life and trying to figure things out, and to get caught into this rumble of chaos and criminality. She is going, and being a foster child, she's going to need all the mental therapy, mental, emotional, physical therapy that she can get to try to navigate her way into a positive, conscientious, healthy adult. So let our prayers go out to the victim for sure. Let the court system handle and manage Mac Mitchell and Angel Henderson accordingly. And let's get this human trafficking and child trafficking, that needs to stop. The e-files have brought a sunlight on these kinds of cases, and many of us are just going through our day each and every day, not paying attention to all these kind of dynamics that are going on. But there is a lot of chaos and disruption in this world, and we need to try to make this world right. We need to live in a positive, God-conscious existence. Tell me what you think of this unfortunate story coming straight out of St. Louis, Missouri. This has been the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth in a positive, righteous, and God-conscious way.